And so the fact that we came to the United States, I grew up in the working class towns of New Jersey. So for me, it was a huge opportunity. So I worked my butt off when I was smart, but I worked my butt off because I really recognized how much America had to offer. So by the time I was 14, I'd finished up calculus, and I wasn't just a nerd. I was a star pitcher. I played center half on a very, one of the leading division teams in New Jersey. So by the time I was 14, I started working as a full-time research fellow at Rutgers Medical School in Newark, New Jersey. I'd gone to the summer before to NYU in a deep computer science program. So I was working as a full-time researcher while finishing up high school. And in that environment, Wayne, I had the opportunity, because of a loving family, a great mentor, and some, in those days, good public school teachers, they allowed me to go to Newark and work. And I was given a challenge to convert that old-fashioned interoffice mail system. Every secretary had the inbox, outbox. Remember this? They'd write a thing called a memo with the typewriter. They put it in an interoffice envelope. They'd send. That was a social media before social media. And I was asked to convert that entire system to the electronic form. And that's what I did as a 14-year-old kid. Wrote all the code. It was used all over the university. In fact, when I came to MIT, the front page of MIT highlighted 3 kids who had done something of note. And I was one of those 3 out of the 1,040 kids who came in that year for inventing email. Now, I forgot about it, meaning I was brought up to be a humble Indian kid. But 33 years later, on November 11th, 2011, when my dear mom was dying of a horrible disease, she had 3 months left to live. In a suitcase, she had saved all those artifacts. The technology editor, Time magazine, Doug Emmett, by the way, the only journalist, the honest journalist, who went through the whole thing, and he wrote a feature article called "The Man Who Invented Email." 3 months later, the Smithsonian honored me, where they received all the materials and went into the Smithsonian. And it was unfortunate because a Washington Post reporter wrote a great article saying Shiva Idria honored as the inventor of email. But the liberal elite racists, still on Wikipedia, who think they can rewrite history, were so unfortunately pissed off that they had already thought they had written the history of email, that it came out of the military industrial complex, that this was like a new skull was found in Africa. So they did everything to smash the truth, wrote all sorts of libelous articles. And, I won a major lawsuit against Gawker Media. 3 defamatory articles were removed. But the fact is, email was not invented at MIT. It wasn't invented by the elites. It was invented by a 14-year-old American kid in Newark, New Jersey. And the truth about the invention of email, Wayne, is extremely important to every human being on the planet. Because what it shows is the elites try to convince us that we must go kill people, we must go to war, fight all sorts of ridiculous wars, and then you get innovation. And what I showed was that no, great innovations have always come from civilians solving civilian problems. I was trying to help these secretaries go from the typewriter to the keyboard. By the way, the military industrial complex guys, the nerds, thought the secretaries would be unable to do that. And that's all written in a Rand Corporation document. But by the way, a 14-year-old kid is the one who invented TV. Philo Farnsworth. It took him 60 years to get credit. But the reality is the elites think, oh, you go to Harvard and you drop out that school, Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg. And today what we have is we have mediocre, we don't really have any big innovations. I mean, you go look at the batteries that Elon Musk is creating, there's no innovation. There's a bunch of Duracells in there, okay? So we have choked innovation worldwide because we've said, you must look like this, act like this, feel like this, and then you're an innovator. You must look like a crazy nerd. You must look like you've never eaten before or look debilitated, and then you're allowed to innovate, or you must go to MIT or these institutions. The problem they have with me is I did the invention of email before I came to MIT, and I did many other inventions after I came to MIT. So I can see the perspective on both sides. But the invention of email was done by me. And the unfortunate thing is, why is there even any controversy? You see, there is no controversy. Wrote the code, named it email, and got the first US copyright, officially recognized me as the inventor of email. So anyone listening, don't give a penny to Wikipedia. These people are they're the racists. They're the liberal racists. And the biggest racists are the liberal elites in academia.
Well, the funny thing is I went to Columbia University and my daughter was homeschooled and she went to Harvard and graduated Phi Beta Kappa at the top of Harvard. And so I know a thing or two about Ivy League schools, and they're all filled with communists. Let me ask you this.
Well, no, they're not even communists. Let's get the term right. It's not communist. They're filled with fascists. You see, the word communist and socialist gets thrown around in a wrong way because the real word is fascist. Let me explain the difference. Fascism is when the government becomes one with the institutions of power, be it corporations, be it universities, etc. That's what we're seeing happen today. You see, one of the things when we talk about our Truth Freedom Health warrior movement, what's happened in the United States or globally is in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, Wayne, the American working class rose up. If you remember the 1900s, blacks, whites, people of all backgrounds. And that's why the Republicans and Democrats were forced to give the 8-hour workday, eliminate child labor, right? We had sanitation. We had, all those amazing things that came out in the midst of the Depression. And that's what brought down infectious disease rates. It wasn't, what the inoculation with the measles stuff in 1963. Most of the advancement of anything we have today came from the struggle of the bottoms up working class movement. And that's what gave rise to the biggest advancement of the American pie. Starting in 1945 to 1970, you saw a growth of the American pie for all income groups as GDP grew. However, starting in the 50s, the so-called right wing, anytime working people said, oh, we're going to organize our bottoms up movement. Oh, you're a communist, you're a communist. And therefore, the left wing took advantage of that and organized top-down unions. So we got to be very careful. Because when they use that word, it's basically the right telling working people, you can't build a bottoms-up movement, and it signals the left to shove everyone into top-down unions. So starting in 1971, the union bosses basically destroyed the working class movement in this country. So it's fascism. That's what we have. It's fascism. We should use the word fascism. Because when they use the signaling word Marxist, communist, socialist, Engels said that the worst people in the world were Marxists, okay? So we should be careful. The real issue here is fascism. And we saw that in my own election issue here. It was a government of Massachusetts who contacted Twitter to shut me down. We have government and big corporations are becoming one. And that is fascism.
Got it. Listen, the reason I mentioned Marxism and communism is because when I went to Columbia, all my classmates bragged that they were communists, right? I mean, they loved to hate America. They loved Cuba. They loved the Soviet Union. They loved East Germany. They loved.
By the way, I get
every word you're saying.
By the way, all those countries treat their working people like dirt, right? They don't treat their working people like human beings. The Soviet Union is capital C communism. They're state capitalists. They basically where the state party has fused with the so-called private corporation. Same with China. And that's what the Castro brothers did in Cuba.
All right. So we haven't even gotten to the topic I want to get to because you're such a fascinating guy. And we've had a great talk about communism and fascism and the invention of the internet, which, by the way,
email. I didn't invent email. Big difference.
The Al Gore territory, right? Email, the invention of email. You're the great American dream story. Congratulations, because it's a beautiful story, and I love it. And it proves, by the way, that legal immigration is a wonderful thing. I'm just against illegal immigration, but legal immigrants make the greatest contribution to our country. God bless them. But I want to talk about COVID, and we're running out of time, so I'm hoping you can stay for one more second. Can I grab you?
Yes, and I think I really want to talk, Wayne, when we come back, let's really talk about the real issue here. It's really about not pro or anti-vax. It's really about boosting immunity, and we'll talk about that. And I'll give you my perspective as a systems biologist.
All right, so I like that boosting the immune system. We got to talk about vaccines. I want to talk about boosting the immune system, but I also want to talk about lockdowns because I think lockdowns were hands down the biggest mistake maybe in world history. There's never been a bigger mistake when you shut everyone's business down. I want to get your thoughts on that. How does it stop COVID? And the answer is it doesn't. To my naked eye, it appears every state that locked down most strictly automatically had more COVID, more hospitalizations, more deaths, and they put everyone into bankruptcy and closed every restaurant and destroyed people's lives. And the people that stayed open, like Florida and a little bit Texas and South Dakota,
Sweden,
and countries like Sweden did much better without lockdowns, and people were less sick too. Let's talk about that when we get back.
Sure.
Dr.SHIVA, who literally did invent email, former U.S. Senate candidate in Massachusetts, MIT. We have a certified brilliant genius on our show. We'll be right back.
So anyway, I'm doing an interview with one of the radio stations, and what we're talking about is.
We'll be back in 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, great. I'll wait for you guys. So we're talking about.
You completed a miracle. You're the first guest to ever not let Wayne get the word edgewise.
Oh, really? Okay, great. Okay, thank you. They just said I was the first guest never to let. Okay, good. I'll be right here. So what we're talking about is the need to boost immunity and why we need to take a systems approach. All of you listening out there, listen very carefully. Nothing is freaking going to change in the world until all of you understand that you have to become systems scientists. And I can teach you how to do that. You don't have to go to MIT. You don't have to get scared. And what we've done at VA Shiva is we've created a platform. So I want you guys to recognize that, yes, I created email. Yes, I created Cytosolve. But the most important innovation we've done is what we've done at bhivacom. And am I trying to sell you something? No, what I'm trying to do is to educate you. My entire life's journey, starting all the way from India as when I was up until they're 7, growing up as a working class kid in New Jersey, and then coming to MIT and getting all those degrees, starting companies, running for US Senate, has had the common thread of understanding systems. And what I've been able to do now on VA Shiva, we've created a platform, but it's not just some tech platform. It's an educational platform. It is a community building platform, and it's an activation platform. On that platform, my number one goal is to educate all of you on the foundations of systems. And I've created that curriculum. Then I want to teach you 3 different things. The interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. That's principle number 1. That's Dr. Shiva's principle number 1 for revolutionary change. Number 2, why we need to build a bottoms-up movement. You got to let go of Trump and freaking Bernie and left and right and Republican and Democrat. That's adolescence, like you're a child, okay? You got to raise your consciousness by understanding that the establishment wants you to be involved in their game of left and right, Republican and Democrat. That's what they want you to be doing all day long. It's entertainment. It's like watching Bollywood or Hollywood. If you want to do that, do that. But don't think Trump cares about you because he had 4 years and he brought in an idiot like Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. Sorry, that's who they are. Wouldn't you say so, John?
Yeah.
That's what they are. They didn't help this country. They were there for themselves, okay? For 4 years, they'd never put Hillary Clinton in jail. Not one indictment against her. And where we are today is they didn't go after any of the social media companies. Everything they did was entertainment value. And it was a soap opera. And many idiots still think, oh, something's going to happen on January 6th. Something's going to happen on January 28th. Something's going to happen on March 4th. Get out of that, okay? And same with the Bernieites. Bernie fights against the DNC. Trump fights against the RNC. You see, they're the wings of the establishment trying to sucker you back in. The only way forward is building a movement for truth, freedom, and health. And I can say that unequivocally. The good news is that platform now exists, okay? You can get educated, but it begins with you learning a little bit of engineering science. And I can teach you that in 3 hours every Monday evenings. I do that. Learn the science, okay? Number 2, then build community. And number 3, start activating yourself. So when you go to vashiva.com, I'm going to share this with you very quickly. When you go to vashiva.com, which is the website, vashiva.com, and go to vashiva.com/join. And on that website, you realize we're building a bottoms-up movement to support a bottoms-up movement. So you can contribute, you can become a member, no cost. But if you give me some money, I don't want to take it unless I can give you back something. So those people are giving 25 or more. I give you the book, System and Revolution, and then I train you. I give you a tool that took me 20 years to create where you can understand the forces of systems in your own body. Then you can also become a truth, freedom, and health warrior, which is the most, highest level of educational commitment that you can do. So if you go here to vashiva.com, you'll see that right here, there's a whole thing on the truth, freedom, and health warrior training. You can go right into vashiva.com/join. Let me show you here. And you can support this movement. You can support it any way you want, just becoming a member. You get access to a whole bunch of tools and capabilities. Or you can become a warrior where you get access to the entire curriculum. And then you get the book. But when you log into the dashboard at vashiva.com, that's the powerful thing where we bring all this together. So you get access to the educational tools. You get access to things like the forum where you can interact with other people all over the world, independent of big tech. You see, all these conversations are taking place on health, governance, etc. No one can throw us off here. Second, there's also a social media capability. We're on the social media. You can build your own pages like John has here. You can connect with other warriors. You can connect with other groups, and you can literally recognize that you're not alone in this movement. So here are all different people. So anyway, I'm going to go back with Wayne Allen Root, but become a truth, freedom, and health warrior. That's what's needed. Okay, I guess he's still talking there. But on truth, freedom, and health, the goal is to build this bottoms-up movement. So, but it's not going to happen until people get a knowledge of systems. So anyway, we'll be right back. Let's see what else people are saying here. And I don't understand how freedom is possible when there's Wayne Allen loves Trump. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, we'll have to talk about that. All right, maybe I'll have to break his bubble. Should I do that?
If it comes up.
Should I break Wayne Allen's bubble about Trump, guys? What do you guys think? Okay, he's back. Here we go.
Former U.S. Senate candidate in Massachusetts. Dr. Shiva, tell us the truth about COVID-19. What is your real feeling about COVID?
Well, look, in March of 2020, if you remember, I was the first one to put out a very powerful tweet that went out to, I think, about 20 million people. And the tweet said that I believe this will go down in history as one of the biggest fear-mongering hoaxes intended to suppress dissent, destroy economies, and push mandated medicine. I don't know if you remember that. And I called out Fauci immediately because as a MIT-trained systems biologist, my PhD is in the field called biological engineering. You know, in November of 2019, I was invited to deliver what's called a prestige lecture. And, you know, in science, when you get invited to talk, it's different than you going to a conference, Wayne. And in that lecture, I basically shared the modern theory of the immune system, showing that the old theory of the immune system, which was basically saying, well, there's only two boxes in the immune system, two gears. One is your innate immune system, which is all the stuff in your eyes, your throat, and your ears, that when a virus comes to you, this thing goes and chomps it up, okay? And then after that, attempting to chomp it up, it gives it over to your adaptive immune system, which creates antibodies. So the old model of the immune system actually dates back to 1915, Wayne. And so when John Kennedy signed the National Vaccination Act, he was basing it on a 60-year-old science. And by 1986, if you remember, a lot of people were being injured. So then instead of getting rid of that act, his other brother, the dope Ted Kennedy, helped Big Pharma, and they passed the National Vaccine Injury Program. And what that did was it actually protected pharma and gave them an open avenue to do whatever the hell they wanted. And then instead of
immunity, right? Immunity.
It gave them immunity. You couldn't sue them in federal court. You had to take it to a vaccine court. And since then, the other guy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., represents himself. He's part of the controlled opposition as though he's against all of this. What did he do? He says he wants safe vaccines. He endorsed Hillary Clinton 3 times, who took money from Gavi, okay? And who took money from Monsanto. So here's running around. And by the way, if you actually listen to what he says, he's pro-vax, he's pro this. He says he vaccinated all his kids, and then he wants safe vaccines, okay? The real issue is not pro or anti-vaccine. The real issue is we need to focus on boosting immunity. Because when you look at the complexity of the immune system, Wayne, it is not just about bringing up antibodies. So think about your immune system like going to an orchestra, Wayne. There's the oboe, there's a violin, there's a horn section, there's the drums, all of this, right? And when you get hit in a natural way by some virus or some fungi or some pathogen bacteria, your entire orchestra plays, not only the innate system, but there's another system called the interferon system, which is what I studied for my PhD work. That system turns on like thousands of genes, Wayne. So there are people who are asymptomatic, don't have any antibodies, and they're absolutely fine. They've gotten these flus or viruses because the interferon system, it's the kettle drums and it's this, the horn section that turns on interferons, which activate what are called natural killer cells, which blow up the infected cell. You see, the body is not just antibodies. We got to move beyond that. So all you see in antibodies. And as long as you say that for one solution, for one wrong, reductionist solution, you'll only have one solution. The nature is much more complex. This is why everything I've been pounding on, it's beyond vax and anti-vax. And it's like WWE wrestling. They want us to be in this dialectic. Meanwhile, if they spend as much time talking about vaccines and masks as they did about, hey, what about vitamin D3? Hey, what about vitamin A? What about eating the green leafy vegetables? What about building community? Because when you hang out with friends and you have love in your life and security, your body creates antimicrobials. It reduces anti-inflammatories. And, you know,
love it.
Yeah. So in March, I wrote to Trump. I said, look, do not lock down the economy. Those people are truly immunocompromised. Fine, quarantine them. The rest of us, I gave a protocol, vitamin D3, A, iodine, quercetin, etc. You know, Marlon Maples delivered that right to his deputy secretary of domestic policy. I had a long conversation with him. I said, you need to get rid of this guy, Fauci. Okay. I said, you need to
You were
really.
right, and I was right. We were right.
Yeah, and he didn't listen.
I love Trump, but he didn't listen.
Well, the reason Trump didn't listen was he was surrounded by idiots. He was surrounded by opportunists. I mean, you know, Jared Kushner, frankly, was running the White House. Let's be honest here. Okay. He had this kid who got into Harvard because his father gave $2.5 million there. He ran slums here in Somerville. That's who was running there. So no matter all the Trumpism, it's almost like that Trump didn't behave like Trump. So that's, you know, I gave him money, you gave him money, we supported him. But at the end of the day, you know, with all the talk, at the end of the day, look at where we are today. In the midst of his administration, $6.2 trillion was printed, 600 billionaires.
The music's on, we're up against the heartbreak.
Okay.
It's time for the news. We got to run.
Thanks, Wayne.
Dr.SHIVA, great interview.
Be well.
Thank you. God bless.
Yeah, so what I was finishing up with Wayne is, in the midst of all this stuff, right, what ultimately happened in this country was we went into greater bondage. And today, what is it, John? 25% of the working people in this country are unemployed, 25%. And you won't hear Tucker Carlson talk about that. He'll talk about suddenly he's angry about some stuff, right? He's an entertainer, okay? Tucker is a little rich boy, preppy rich boy who talks about stuff when it's convenient. He watches which way the wind blows. And I've said this over and over again. But the reason I wanted to do this conversation with Wayne is a big Trumper, right? But he needs to hear this. Okay, we need to get to the truth of the issue, that the only way out of this is to take a systems approach. So when you look at the body, when you look at the body as a whole system, when you look at politics as a whole system, when you look at anything in the universe as a whole system, you will be able to then find what the real truth is. But in order to look at anything as a system, you need to have the tools. And without those tools, you're going to be meandering. Okay, well, I think I'm going to support Trump today. I think I'm going to support the Patriot Party. Oh, Obama sounds good. A lot of Trumpers voted for Obama, right? Yeah. When he was around. They're just going from a black guy to a white guy, then back to a brown guy maybe, and then to a yellow guy, whatever the hell it is, okay? It's not about individuals. It's about you understanding the principles of all systems. And those principles are embodied in system science. And I'm here to tell you that it's taken me a long time to do this. Like, as I do these talks more, I'm getting actually more and more emphatic that if you want to roll, you better learn system science, or you're basically fooling yourself. You're just effing around, okay? That's what you're doing. If you want to get real, learn, you got to sit down, you got to learn. It's like if you want to really learn how to do something, you can't be a dilettante about it. Now, please be that if you want to be entertained. If you want to watch Tucker and watch his grimaces and get entertained by the way, a lot of people write all of his stuff. He doesn't write his stuff, okay? Go be entertained. But if you want liberation, if you want truth, freedom, and health, this is the only place to get it, because I know of no other place. Do you, John?
I wish I did.
If I did, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be running my company, Cytosolve. I'd be just focused on making billions and billions and billions. But the reason I'm doing this, I can't just do that. We've integrated it. And what we've integrated is a powerful movement. And that movement is truth, freedom, and health. That's the trident, like the Navy SEAL trident, truth, freedom, and health. And that trident has three methods: education, building community, and activation. And that's what you guys need to do. Go to vashiva.com/join, become a warrior. Join me. You know, it's a private group class I do every Monday evenings. You get 3 hours interacting, and then you get to interconnect with amazing people. We have some amazing people all over the world now. And the most important lesson we teach in our class is the controlled opposition, the not so obvious establishment. Trump has become part of the not so obvious establishment. He is. It's hard to swallow that. I had to swallow it, okay? It's a big pill to swallow. So you go from red pill to black pill. And the brown pill, the brown guy's bringing you the black pill. That's what's going on right now, okay? Yeah, RFK Jr. is a big time scumbag. Another part of the not so obvious stuff. Gandhi, the father of all scumbags. Okay, it may be hard for some Indians to hear that. He was the one who, if you trace the lineage of all scumbags, you'll end up with Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, he's the guy who perfected saying one thing and doing another. Okay, he was a racist. He was an elitist. He didn't help anyone in South Africa. He came to India. There was a revolutionary movement building up. And what did Gandhi do? He put the lid on it. Okay, and he helped the British, quote unquote, peacefully transfer power to the Indian elites, who are all bootlickers anyway. All right, so we got to get our heads up out of you know what and recognize that we need to build a bottoms up movement. And we need to go local to go local to go local. If you still want to go vote for elections, do it for entertainment. It's like going to the horse races, guys, or going to watch a greyhound. All right? It's not real because we have selections in this country. We do not have elections. So let me finish by playing my video. But all of you go to vashiva.com, become a warrior, support this movement. Everything. We have our own data center. We're buying our own computers. We don't rely on big tech. We're not like the idiots like Parler. You know, for 20 years, I ran the biggest data centers in the world for the largest Fortune 1000 companies. I know what it takes to run a data center. And Trump thinks he's just going to suddenly do a social media company, and every idiot thinks they have no idea what it takes to run these data centers. I've done it for 20 years. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of attention to detail, but we're building a bottoms-up movement. So go to vashiva.com/join, support this movement. It is your movement. It is the only way forward. There is no other way forward. And I'm telling you because I've searched for 50 years. It's a bottoms-up movement, but we have to have the engineering science. What else we got here? Any questions? We have selections, not elections. I'm feeling too much anger here tonight. Oh, let's talk about that. Yes, you're feeling a lot of anger, and you should have righteous anger. And if you're a Christian, just remember, Christ was not some namby-pamby guy, okay? He took a whip, and he went into that temple, right, John?
Yeah.
And he whipped the shit out of those bankers, those people, okay? That's what he did. So if you're not getting angry, then you're not a human, because you should be angry. And the American working class is the one that's been screwed. And every time they get angry, you have a Bernie come. And then Trump used them, okay? The only way to move this movement forward is bottoms up. And that's why you need to study history. So anyway, I'm going to take everyone back to VA Shiva right here. And yeah, get angry. And if you're not angry, something's wrong with you. Okay. Sorry. It's just the facts. Isn't it, John?
Yeah.
If you're not angry, you need to have your system checked.
Yeah,
go to your body, your system. By the way, our tool, Your Body, Your System, will help you figure out what's going on with your body. Okay. So let's go right to here. So if you go to VA Shiva, you'll notice that you can go right to the front page. Right here, we have all sorts of amazing content we put up. And anyway, become a truth, freedom, and health warrior. It's time to liberate ourselves. Truth, freedom, and health. Without freedom, we can't get to truth. Without truth, we can't have health. Without health, you will never have the strength to fight for freedom. So they want to make people weak. They want to make our infrastructure weak. The United States has a D in infrastructure. Massachusetts has an F minus. Working people, 25% out of work in the United States. Think about it. So stop watching Trump, okay? Stop watching Hollywood. Stop doing any of those nonsensical. Do it if you want entertainment. It's like taking an aspirin, okay? It makes you feel good, or getting a buzz or something. But that's all it is. It's not real. Anyway, I'll see you guys later tonight. But I'll be talking about, what am I talking about, John? I think neem, or
I think I heard something about, I think it was neem, yeah.
Neem, yes, I'll be talking about another important herb connected to immune health. So again, when we talk about that, you're going to learn the interconnection of systems at the molecular level all the way to the global level. Everything's interconnected, guys. So, but you have to take a systems approach. Thank you. Let me play this for you, and I'll see you later after dinner.
We have allowed our country to be taken over from within, and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to, and we need to all unite working people. There's only one movement that can do that. And that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid. setting revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution. And that's why I put this together. My goal is to train a army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, right? Talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work uniting. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers. Completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people, Dave, to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is a not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is a not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow, some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. And that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done. And it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these four concepts I've built into a curriculum. People can go to bhivacom, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people 2 years of MIT control systems. I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it. Anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. And the Senate campaign's expanded to the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health, and they can find it on V as in Victor, A, Shiva, bhivacom, so people can sign in, they can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a Truth, Freedom, and Health leader, I offer a full scholarship there. But we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to VA Shiva, Victory America Shiva, vashiva.com.
All right, everyone. So I'll be back this evening. I'm going to go grab something to eat, but at 9 p.m. I'll be doing a talk on one of our surprise things with looking at immune health and with another profound ingredient. We're going to look at cinnamon. Cinnamon. I'll bring some cinnamon here. Cinnamon is great for many, many things. It's good for weight loss. It's good for glucose metabolism, but it also is a system. All right. So, what I want to teach all of you guys is that once you understand systems thinking, your whole world is going to change. You're going to start viewing everything as a system. Oh, and the same principles apply. There's the same scientific principles. Once you learn that, you can see why the disturbance comes to us in the not so obvious establishment, why we need to build a bottoms up movement. We don't have one cell in the human body. We got 6 trillion cells. The body is completely decentralized. You will start also understanding when you take the course the difference between fascism and communism, right? You will understand these scientific terms. You will understand how the left and the right have worked together against working people. This is why you must become a system scientist if you're serious. And this is why we need to build a bottoms up movement. Let go, let go, let go. Understand, if you want to do this Republican Democrat nonsense, it's entertainment. That's all it is. If you need to, you know, have your beer or have your wine or whatever you do to get a buzz, that's all it is. It's not going to do jack. Okay. It's going to further enslave you. That's what they want. It's like, you know, the elites developed alcohol that they gave to the American Indians, right? Then they did gambling. Now they have politics. That's what they do. They want you to watch Trump and Bernie or Trump and Biden fall down the stairs and people, oh, he left. Well, that's what they want you to be doing. They don't want you to build a bottoms up movement. In order to do that, you need science. In order to do that, you need to become a truth, freedom, and health warrior, and you need to get educated. That's what we're here to do. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you later. Thank you for your kind and loving comments. Be well. Be the light. Thank you.